Hey, 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 welcome back to Stop It. I'm your host, Emily Erb, and I am so excited because I have one of my students who is so brave and courageous, and she's willing to share her story and experience. And you're going to learn a little bit where she was at before we started working together and where she is now, and how she has made huge leaps and bounds and changes in the way that she shows up in her health and her fitness. And I just was like, Robin, how can I get you on? Because I just want other women to know that they're not alone and how things can change in honestly a pretty short amount of time. So I'm going to introduce Robin, and she is going to just share a little bit about where she was before, who she is, and then we're gonna ask some questions and get into it. So thank you again, Robin, for joining the show.
My pleasure. So I am a nurse. I am a mom of two boys. I'm married. We have a Rottweiler who's honestly walking around whining right now, which is really unusual. So if you hear him, I apologize. And I wasn't new really to fitness or nutrition. I've worked out, not necessarily consistently, but gone to a gym since high school. I've done different things over the years. I love food, including healthy food, and always felt like I was doing the right thing, sort
Mhm.
of. But since you have kids and life gets busy and they're in sports, sometimes things are just not as easy. And I'm getting close to 40, sadly. And my body was just changing, and I didn't really recognize myself anymore. Um, I was getting very frustrated because the scale had been steadily creeping up for the last couple of years, despite more consistency with my workouts. I had done CrossFit for quite a while. And while I enjoyed the community and found that I was a lot stronger than I realized, I was getting puffy and my weight was going up and I wasn't feeling good.
Mhm.
Um, so it was just at that point where I'm like, well, it doesn't matter what I do because nothing is changing.
Mhm.
It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and Robin, you're not alone in that. Like I think you and I, when we started chatting, you felt like we had a lot of similarities, right? Because I'm a foodie
Yeah.
too. I love food. I enjoy it. And I like healthy food too. I also struggled with the same thing where I was like, I'm doing all the things. I'm exercising. I feel like I'm eating pretty healthy. I'm eating more protein, but my body wasn't changing. And I didn't feel like myself either. Um, Funny story before we get more into it. Robin, we didn't realize how close we live to one another. And I was at the gym the other week and this guy was staring at me and I was like, okay, yeah, do you want the Smith machine? And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And he goes, are you Emily? And I'm like, yeah, who are you? And he goes, oh, I'm Robin's husband. And so that was really cool. And I always love to know like, how do people find me? Especially if I've never met them before. And so I was like, how did Robin find me? And it was through your husband who I like popped up in his algorithm and he sent you one of my videos.
Yep.
And it was like, so can you tell me a little bit how that happened for you? Because that still intrigues me.
I don't, it was so funny, honestly, because Um, he knows that I've struggled with things, and he also goes to the gym and he's very supportive of everything. But he's like, I don't know how this happened because she's geared more towards women for sure. But somehow I ended up following this Emily girl, and I
Hmm.
get her posts all the time. And I think she actually is pretty local. So he's like, I'm going to send you her information and see if you think that maybe it would be a good fit. Maybe she could help you. Maybe she could get you unstuck.
Hmm. Yeah.
So from
And
there, it's history.
it was, and it was so cool because I remember so I think you grabbed my macro starter kit
Hmm.
to help you get started. And in it, I say, like, email me and let me know, like, anything you're struggling with. And you did. And I'm curious, like, Because I'm a woman who takes action, so like it's very easy for me to like do something like that, but not everyone does. Like, what made you respond? Like, what made you like reach out to me?
Your story just sounded like mine.
Mm,
And you had progress. And um, like you said, you took action and you changed something, but you didn't give up things that you enjoyed. I mean,
hmm
you also have your boys and you're married and you're close to my same age. And
hmm
you had your before and your after pictures. And I was like, well, clearly it's possible.
hmm hmm
So I needed to know how it was possible.
I love that. I love that. I think that's so important is like there's like a switch that goes off that you're just like, "Oh, well, if it's possible for her, then I know that it's also possible for me."
Right.
Um Okay, so you like, I mean, you just like jumped all the way in. Like, you got my starter kit, which I loved. And then I was like, hey, I have a class that I'm teaching. So you joined my class. And then afterwards, we kind of were talking. And then you just decided to go like all the way in, take that leap of faith, and do my 8 week program. And we just wrapped that up. And so I would love to just kind of hear like, what were some of your biggest, like maybe aha moments, like some of the things that maybe like blew your mind a little bit? Because the things that I was teaching you, like I learned and I was like, why don't more women know about this? Like, why is this not talked about more?
That is so true. I'm wondering that now, and I'm, as you know, trying to send people your way because
Mhm.
it is so important. Everybody, including women, should know all of this information. But I forget what you said.
Like what would yeah. Like what because well the other day you were talking with one of your friends and she's on a GLP-1 and she has this fear around like gaining weight back and you were just dropping all this information to her and you were like this is stuff that we just were never taught. So like what was like
Right.
some of like your like aha moments like things that
Oh,
like blew
right.
your mind? Yeah.
That's right. So honestly, one of the first things, because I have tracked my food before, I've used different things, and I would do it for a little bit and then I would give up on it because nothing was changing.
hmm
But what you did differently, like right at the beginning, was tell me to track without making changes for at least the week, at least
hmm
7 days. So you saw where you really were. And that seems so simple now when you say it, but how are you supposed to make a change if you don't know where you're starting?
hmm
And like I said before, I thought that I was eating pretty well. And it's not that I was eating, well, there's no good and bad foods, but it's not that I wasn't choosing healthy food, but the amount of protein or the amount of nutrition for what I was eating really wasn't getting me to my goals.
hmm
So that was just really eye-opening to see where I was. And then you helped me figure out how to get into that calorie deficit, and I saw results.
Yeah, you did. Can you? I remember being on one of our group calls and you were sharing this win of like how you haven't seen like the scale move in like a few years. And
Mhm.
so, like, can you just kind of share that a little bit more about like what happened? Like where were you at and then where are you now with your results?
Yeah, it was so exciting because, like you said, the scale had only slightly trended up for probably, I don't know, at least 2, maybe 3 years, honestly. And the first time that the scale really went down and stayed down, even I think it was really only like a pound.
hmm
I I was just so shocked. Like it's actually changing. Something is changing.
hmm
And I know it's not just about the scale, but I mean, the scale had consistently not seen that number for a really long time.
Yeah. Ah, that was so exciting. I always love that. And were you surprised because I teach like all food is included, right? Were you surprised in like the things that you were still eating and that you saw the scale go down?
Yes and no. I mean, I have never been one for fad diets. I
hmm
like food, and I think that cutting something out completely just isn't realistic. I don't think that people can really live their lives like that long term, and I really had no desire to. So I
hmm
never jumped on those bandwagons. So I wasn't surprised that I could fit everything in, but I was pleasantly surprised at how satisfied I could be still in a
Mm.
calorie deficit.
And a calorie, yeah.
Learning how to increase food volume too was really important. So that way you still felt like you were eating a nice full plate, but you were really getting the nutrition that you needed with lower calories.
Yeah, yeah. And that did that take so I'm curious, like when you started tracking again, because you had some experience, I always share, especially with like students just coming in, like give yourself like a 2 week learning curve, like give yourself a little bit of time to adjust. So
Mhm.
when you started and then like kind of gave yourself a little bit of time to adjust, like how much time did you feel like you had to give to tracking your macros? Like, did it feel like it took up a lot of time? Like, because you're a busy mom, you know,
Mhm.
you're an RN, you have your boys, you're married, your dog. So I know that's a really big barrier for a lot of women. That was one of my biggest barriers. I was like, I don't have time to track my macros. So can you maybe like give a little insight on how that went for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a concern of mine, but the app makes it really easy
Hmm.
and it gets faster as you go. The more you do it, the faster it gets. And it's helpful that it remembers common commonly chosen food items or that you can even save a whole meal of
Hmm.
separate ingredients. I do like to cook, so I would create recipes sometimes, and that was definitely the most time consuming
Yeah.
part. If I wanted to make something like, I don't know, like I make orzo with different proteins and veggies in it, so I'd have to add all those ingredients.
Hmm.
But once it's made, then it's there. So the next time I do it, I might tweak an ingredient or something. But it takes less than 5 minutes to enter meals.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm curious too, Robin, because I always like to ask other moms that have families that they're also preparing meals for.
Mhm.
Were you able to still have the same meal as your family? And yeah, like what did that look like for you?
Oh yeah, because that was something I definitely wasn't interested in doing was making myself separate meals. And thankfully, neither my kids or my husband are picky. They
Hmm.
eat pretty much anything.
Hmm.
So I pretty much cooked like normal, just maybe with a little bit more awareness of how much protein was in that meal, ways that I could increase that while still keeping the calories down. So I kind
Hmm.
of played around with things in that aspect, but I ate all the same things they ate.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think as just, you know, as a mom, a busy mom, like you don't, I personally didn't want to plan time into making separate meals for myself. I didn't want to use that mental bandwidth to do that. Um, and you know, so how did it feel, Robin, to like, because I didn't give you meal plans. Like I didn't tell you what to eat. Like I, you know, I put in some recipes and things like that in the program if you want to pick and choose from. But um, how did that feel for you that you were creating your own plan? Like, how did that feel? Did it make it easier for you to one, understand what you were doing, and two, to like stick with it and be able to make adjustments as needed?
Um, yeah, I think it was good to be able to do my own thing, that whatever worked for myself and my family. Um, I don't
But
know.
no, that's okay. Hey, but you know, so like, you know, because I used to work with patients all the time. And when I would try to tell them what to do, I'm like, here's your plan and like follow through with it. And they would, but then to a point, like if something came up and they didn't know how to make adjustments. Like I know you were on a pizza tour with your hubs and the
Yeah.
family. And so like how did you and you were still when you're doing the pizza tour, were you in a cut or were you starting to reverse then when you were on your in your pizza tour?
I think that I had just started my reverse the week that we started our little tour.
Okay. Yes.
So that I felt like I had a little bit more leeway there, but just kind of jumping around, that made me remember that you always talked about how it doesn't have to be perfect with what you're tracking, which was
Mhm.
really helpful too, because obviously I'm not going to get the nutrition for each new pizza place that we try.
Mhm.
So I just found a pepperoni pizza, 2 slices, that was kind of in the middle of all of the numbers that it was throwing out there.
Hmm.
And that's what I went with.
Yeah.
So it's nice in that respect.
Yeah, where it's just like, I think sometimes when we feel stuck and overwhelmed, it's because there's so many choices, and then we get overwhelmed. We're like, oh, we have to make the right choice. And what you did so beautifully, Robin, is you took a lot of messy action, right? And you allowed yourself to try things out and just make a decision and move forward. And I think when we can let go of that idea of like you have to track perfectly or you have to hit your macros perfectly, it can really make it so much harder to stick with.
Yeah.
How did you make it more enjoyable for yourself? Like, because I mean, there are hard parts about it. Like, there are definitely hard parts when it comes to being in a cut, the calorie deficit, where there are times where you do have to make a decision sometimes of like, you know what, like, I would rather make this fit. And so I'm going to say no to this for right now, even though it's not restrictive. It's you making that choice, right? If you want to be in alignment. Yeah. So, how did that kind of go for you? What was your experience like that?
Well, we're women, we're good at cutting, right? That's,
Yes.
so honestly, I remember saying to you it was harder to start adding calories back in because you get in your routine of
Hmm.
staying low in your calories.
Hmm.
Um, but I also like had that belief that, oh, I'm adding peanut butter, so my protein is going up before we started all of this.
Yes.
So that was one of the things that I scaled down a little bit in the cuts. And it changes your calories a good bit. I
Hmm.
switched to PB2 so I could still have that peanut butter taste in some things. And I just found go-to snacks that were satisfying. Um, there's this cookies and cream. It's actually a shake powder for kids from this company that I get things from. But I started mixing that in yogurt because it
Mm.
was a good high protein snack and I'd throw fruit in there. It tasted like a dessert.
Yes.
But you just have to find things like that that you enjoy eating that are
Hmm.
still giving you good nutrition, I think.
Hmm. And didn't you get on were you the one who said you like the Yasso? Did you find
Oh, yeah, I
yeah.
found those towards the end of the cut, I
Hmm.
think. The
Yeah.
salted caramel ones, they're so
Mm.
good.
Yes, I was on the Yasso train too. I got into those. They were like these little frozen yogurt balls with hard chocolate around it, so it tasted like one of those. What are they? Those like dilly bars? I don't know. Like the
Oh,
hard
yeah.
chocolate. Yeah,
Hmm.
those were so good. Um, and so a reverse, I don't know if people listening to this really know what a reverse is, and this is your first time doing this process.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of quickly explain it. So Robin was in a calorie deficit. So her goal was fat loss, and she accomplished some fat loss. And what I teach inside is that we're not in a fat loss phase forever because our bodies do change and they do adapt to how we're eating. And so what we do is then we slowly add calories back in. We want to repair, rebuild that metabolism and work our way up to maintenance. And so this is the first time she's actively still in a reverse. And so I know it can feel scary for women to add more calories, especially after you have success, like with losing weight. How are you feeling with like me like teaching you this and saying, okay, now we're gonna start to eat more? And yeah, like what was your thought process around that? Was there some fear around it, but like were you just trusting the process?
I jumped in with both feet. I decided to just trust the process.
Hmm.
But it was really new to me, although the science makes sense. And I
Hmm.
knew just from different people I had followed, and when I was feeling so stuck and frustrated, I'm like, I don't want to cut my calories down and live at my cut was 1400. So that was fine, but I didn't want to live there. I said, I think my kids eat more calories than that. And I'm a
Hmm.
grown woman. I should be able to eat more calories than that and not be gaining weight. So,
Hmm.
like you said, your body adapts and adjusts. So it's been interesting to add calories back in. You know that I actually continued to lose a couple of pounds when I started my reverse.
Hmm.
And that was surprising and fun.
Yeah.
And
Because you weren't even intentionally trying to lose fat at
yeah,
that point. You
I
were,
was like
yeah.
eating more. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of leveled off at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, we'll see what the next steps are,
Yeah.
but I'm just trusting the process.
Yeah. And that can be hard, but also like, how did that feel just to kind of let go and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna experiment, right? I talk a lot about like stepping into that role of a scientist and especially being a nurse, like you're so science oriented too, and like just like collecting the data. And I know you've talked about how you have been you're in practice of like detaching yourself from the results that you have.
Mhm.
So how did that help you? Because I know that collecting the data and seeing the numbers, right? Like seeing like, you know, the foods that you're eating or the numbers on the scale or your measurements, like how has that maybe changed for you or maybe like some awareness that you've created around collecting the data?
It's a challenge to not put judgment on what we're eating or
Hmm.
what the number on the scale says, because that is not what society tells you at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like I'm a pretty self-aware person most of the time, but when you're starting in that place of frustration, it really is difficult when you start tracking to see where you're starting and you realize that, okay, I'm not eating a bad food, but it's not doing what I thought it was doing. That's
Hmm.
frustrating.
Hmm.
So you just have to work on that mindset and say, okay, well, if this is where I'm at and this is not working, then you make little changes and see how it goes from there.
Yes. Was that new to you? Because it was new to me when I started learning about like that inner work, the mindset work of you know, like going from a place of like making a choice out of want and desire versus fear, right? Like if there's a chocolate cake at a birthday party and you're like, okay, and you have this like internal battle with yourself, like, I want that chocolate cake, but I shouldn't eat that chocolate cake,
Right.
and you eat it versus someone who's coming from a place of like, you know what? Like, I want that chocolate cake. It looks really good to me, and I'm going to eat it, right? Or you
Right.
could even say, you know what? Like, I don't really want the chocolate cake, not because I can't have it, but because I'm choosing not to, because it's not in alignment with my goals. Like, did you start to see some shifts in like the inner conversations that you were having yourself with food?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very empowering to be able to say, you know what, that looks really good. I love that dessert, and I don't really have the opportunity to have it very often.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and let myself have that.
Hmm.
I'm choosing to have that.
Yeah.
And then you just track it and you're like, oh, okay, this is where I have what I have left for the rest of the day. And if I go over it, then I'll probably still be within my average for the
Hmm.
week.
Yes.
That was helpful too, to kind of look at things more big picture. You know,
Hmm.
having one treat that you choose to have isn't going to ruin your whole day or your whole week or all of
Hmm.
your results that are happening under the surface.
Yes. Yeah. That was a big thing for me too, actually, just the way I would make my decisions around food and
Mhm.
seeing the bigger picture and knowing, like, I'm curious because I did this when it was like maybe my second or third time around that I was going through a cut. And each time I learned something new. I was like at a different vantage point. And so it was great, was learning some new lessons. And I remember tracking when I went away for a girls' trip. And I just was so curious. I'm like, okay, how much am I actually eating? And I was in a cut at that point. And so I was like, I'm gonna just track everything. And I'm gonna choose like my goal. I wanted to enjoy it with my friends. I wanted to enjoy the food. I didn't want to feel like I couldn't have if I wanted it. And so I remember two of the days I ate like 3,000 calories for each of the day. And it blew my mind because I was collecting the data, I was taking my measurements, and at the end, like nothing changed. Like, yeah, the scale was up a little bit on Monday because I had the extra carbs and I was eating foods that I normally didn't. And understanding the science of how fat loss works and like understanding the scale better, I was like, oh, okay. Like, and then the scale went right back down and the world didn't end, you know? And it was really cool for my brain to see that, like, I can have a weekend where I enjoy it and I'm eating 3,000 calories, you know, both days, and I
Yeah.
didn't ruin my progress. Did you have any of those moments at all when you were collecting your data?
I did. I can't remember the specifics, but I remember, I think, putting something in the Facebook group, and somebody responding to me and saying that they try and focus on that weekly average. And that's really when I started to pay more attention to that
Hmm.
and think about, okay, well, that's true because some days, I'll take something to work and I don't have a chance to eat it, and then I'm not going to eat it at 8:30 at night when I come home.
Hmm.
So then I'm under what I had allotted that day. Things tend to balance out. You can't go crazy every day, but if
Hmm.
your average at the end of the week is still within your cut or within whatever your range is, then you're okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. I do remember that post, and that was so good. I think she used the analogy like what pediatricians tell us,
Mhm.
like when our kids are eating and we look at like the whole week, not just one day. Because I used to like stress about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids need to get all of these nutrients in one day. And then when they kind of like spread it out over the week, it like took such a pressure off. So yeah, I do remember that. That was really good. So Robin, I would love to just know, like, is there anything that like if you could have had so your former self before you invested and you jumped all in, what do you wish you could have told your former self? Like what would you have needed to hear in order to say yes? I know you did say yes and I know you did invest in yourself, but there's definitely a level of uncertainty, right? Like you
Sure.
had zero guarantees that this was going to work for you.
Right.
What could you have given your former self? Like, what advice, like, what do you think Robin would have needed to hear to just like make you feel better about it?
To feel better about choosing the program.
Yeah, to join or just like whatever she would need, you know, like sometimes like for me, I like wish I could just go back and say like Emily, everything's going to be okay. You know, like when you commit to something, you commit to something and just trust the process. Like little things like that. Like what would have been nice for you to hear that?
I think maybe that I'm worth the time and effort because
Mm-hmm.
it is scary to invest in yourself especially when you don't have a guarantee,
Hmm.
when you feel like you've tried things and nothing has worked so far.
Hmm.
Um, so just to say that you're worth what it takes to get the results that you want.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, I wish I know that's a struggle for a lot of women
Mhm.
to invest and not even just invest time, but also your resources, your family's resources.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's not something that society really has ever like shared with women like you're worth it too, you know, like it's okay for you to invest in yourself because I'm sure Robin you invest in a lot with your kids, right? Like I know your
Of
boys
course.
play baseball and we signed up for baseball. I know what it costs. I know all the stuff that goes into it. And so it's like we're so quick to invest in the people that we love and then it's so much harder to invest in ourselves. And so that's so awesome that you could do that. And do you feel like moving forward now, like would it be a little bit easier to like continue to invest in yourself?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to continue working together, which
Mhm.
I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And I had no hesitation there whatsoever because it's made such a big impact on my life in these couple of short feeling
Hmm.
weeks. And I
Hmm.
can't wait to see what happens as we continue to move forward.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I saw that. I was like, yes, Robin. She wants to continue moving on. And I know that feeling. Like when I've felt that same way with my coaches. And I'm like, yes, like without a question. Like, can I ask you one more question? I know I'm so like I've asked you a lot of stuff. And how has like things changed at home at all? Like, has anything changed in the way you show up as a mom or as a wifey? I know when I started making changes, like it totally trickled down into my family and it just really changed the atmosphere of our family life. So, have you noticed anything like that?
I feel more confident in
Mhm.
myself. So
Mhm.
I think in general, if you're more secure in yourself and your journey, then you're just a better mom and a better wife. I think my mood has certainly been more stable because there's not those ups and downs and just uncertainty about what's going to come next. I think it's also really good. I try and be really transparent with my kids. And so they've seen me tracking my food. And while I did tell them that I wanted to lose some weight, I also made sure to stress that I'm making sure that I'm getting the right nutrition to fuel
Mm.
my body so I can be strong, and
Mhm.
they know that I go to the gym and we have them do some workouts too. So we're just trying to pass that all down to them as well.
Yes. I love that. Like, I love that you were honest with them, right? You were transparent with them. And at the same time, it was like when you're tracking, weighing your food, you're teaching your boys, like, hey, mommy's just making sure I'm getting in the foods that I need, getting in enough. It's not about like things that
Restricting.
yes,
Right.
right? Yes. And I think that was a huge thing for me too, is like just breaking some generational cycles and things like that so that my kids as they grow up, I mean, my kids love my protein shakes. My kids, there's like some though that I'm like, no, you cannot have my Bill Puff bars. Like those are mommy's. Yeah, do
They
you
have to ask before they're allowed to have one of those. That's a special treat for them.
And how were you whenever you would like if you did any pre-logging or like you had all of your stuff like mapped out and your kids like wanted a bite? Like did you experience that at all?
Honestly, usually if I was pre-logging, it was for my work day.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
no, usually I didn't have to try and share with them. They're pretty good about getting their own
Yeah.
snacks.
Oh my gosh. I definitely experienced that. I'm like, because my youngest always wants a bite. And I was that way with it, like as a kid, like my dad could make the most like beautiful sandwich. And if he would have made it for me, I would have been like, no thanks. But the fact that he made it one for him and I was like, Dad, can I have a bite? Like it just always looked better. You know how that goes. So my kids constantly, especially my youngest, was like, Can I have a bite? And I'm like, oh. No, because I just pre-logged it and I have it all like, but yeah, so that's funny. Okay. So Robin, and you know what? Sorry, I know I have so many questions. I'm always so curious. How did like energy change for you at all? Like, did you feel like you had more energy since like learning how to fuel your body better or differently?
I think I do. I don't know. We're moms, right? We just
Yeah.
get up and we just do the thing. So I don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to that. But if I make a point to look back, I do feel like everything's been more consistent.
Hmm.
I'm not having those dips in the afternoon where I just want to sit down and take a nap,
Hmm.
or the weeks where, your hormones are shifting and you just are angry and irritable
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
tired. I feel like everything's been more steady.
Nice. Okay, awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for coming on. I am just so excited. I love when other women share their stories because I think it's so important when we have these conversations that other women hear it and they're like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, this. Other women are experiencing this as well, and just seeing what's possible. Because I truly believe if it's possible for one person, then you know that it's possible for any. And so, I just want to say thank you so much for just taking your time. I know you're a busy mama and you're off work right now and your boys are at school, and I totally get that. So, thank you so much for sharing your story and just for letting other women know what's possible for them too. So, thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
Yes, and I can't wait to continue working with you.
I know, me too.
So guys, thanks so much. I will see you guys next week. And remember, life is always happening for you. And I can't wait to chat soon. Bye.